Welcome to Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Stephen Wassum, and this is my friend, Nate Waller. And he is one of my good friends who is very comic book knowledge. Like, he loves comic books and the movies and stuff. And that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today. And if you notice, it's a way different format. We're doing this live. Like, I'm testing out some new ideas, and this isn't the grand special episode that I've mentioned a few episodes back. I'm gonna do that soon. I'm just testing out some few things to actually have another guest on the show. But we wanted to test this out, and I felt like having a Marvel timeline topic would be too long of a episode that I normally do on the show. So I had a good friend who wanted to join. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. So let's get started, shall we?
We shall.
So what are your thoughts of the movies of the Marvels since 2008 to now?
I think that Marvel so far has done really well as far as all the Avengers coming all together. I think for X-Men, some of the movies they didn't do too well, but I think in the most recent X-Men movies they were doing better. I think they just needed to work on the directing a little better. Like, for instance, X-Men Wolverine Origins was just not good at all.
Oh, it's god-awful.
God-awful. They did so many things wrong. Like, for instance, their Deadpool version was just horrid.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really like, taking the Marvel Cinematic films, starting with Iron Man, which I thought was the Hulk. For some reason, I thought the Hulk was, because I knew they came out in the same year. I didn't know I forgot that Iron Man came out in May and not June. I had to look that up just a few minutes ago. And I think with like Fox and Sony doing Marvel, it's kind of like a hit and miss. Like with the Spider-Man trilogy or the Spider-Man origin films, or not the original films. Like, I like those more because of the classic Spider-Mans, but Amazing Spider-Man I kind of like it a little bit more. But then you have Amazing Spider-Man 2 and then also Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
So those are hit and misses. And then you have Fox, who I have no idea what. It seems like they're doing things right.
Yeah.
With their side of Marvel industry. I liked the last Wolverine film.
I agree. The one where he's in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a phenomenal film.
And have you seen the unrated one of it? Where
I have not. No.
If you watch the unrated one, it's more graphic compared. Okay. Even though there's some cheesy blood splatters and stuff, but it's more of like, okay, you get the sense that like they're making Wolverine a much darker tone. So I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with Wolverine 3, whatever they're gonna call it,
which will be Hugh Jackman's last film as Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Apocalypse comes out before.
Yeah.
No, they come out the same year, don't? No, Wolverine 3 comes out the year after, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's had a long run though.
Like
20 plus years now.
It is.
I think they're close to it. About 20 years.
Yeah. It's Marvel with Fox. It seems like they're doing things right with that. I think with how Marvel Studios has kind of done it with their films, it's pretty cool. Like, you get the sense that they want to start from piece by piece, like how they did Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, and the Incredible Hulk. Like, they wanted to kind of get you used to the characters and build sequels and build trilogies, and then getting there. Yes, Iron Man hasn't had like the best run. I mean, you have Iron Man 2, which is probably the worst one.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then you have Iron Man 3, which is a lot better.
It was a lot better.
So and I like how it's directed for Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And it's interesting to see what they're gonna do next, because for me personally, I'm kind of getting bored a little bit because it's repetitive.
Mhm.
Now, granted, I just didn't like Captain America: The First Avenger. I thought it was boring. I liked the director who did it, but it was just like it. I don't know. It didn't fit. Captain America he was boring. I'll just say that he was.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking about it, like that time frame was kind of boring.
Well, yes, granted.
So
He was a pansy compared to everyone else.
Exactly.
That's how I felt. But then I see Captain America: Winter Soldier, and I'm blown away by the two directors who do TV shows.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I have chills now because it's probably my favorite favorite Marvel film next to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
And Winter Soldier felt like America's version of James Bond and Jason Bourne coming together, and there was no problems with this movie at all. I loved it, and one thing they did was they didn't kill off a villain that you knew could be in the next ones.
Mhm.
Like, well, Iron Man didn't really have much villains that, except the Mandarin. But you have what was it? There's a bunch of Marvel movies. I can't think of the villains now. The Guardians of the Galaxy villain.
Technically, it was Thanos.
Yeah. I wish they did better with him. But Marvel's known for killing off villains really fast.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much what the Avengers is meant for, you know?
Yeah, it's more like Marvel, like in Thor, the villain, not Loki, but the
elf.
No, not the elf.
Oh.
The dude that comes and destroys the city. This is how much knowledge I have in the comic book world. It's terrible. Movie wise, I'm great at.
That big metal guy.
Yeah, that
guy.
Say
that.
And I wanted to see more of that. I was like, this is really cool.
Well, the thing it wasn't him who was controlling himself. It was Loki controlling him.
True.
So, I mean, if he wasn't being controlled by Loki, he would be neutral, basically. He would not be doing anything he was told to by Odin, you know?
Yeah. And so I think from leading to Iron Man, you can agree or disagree on this. From leading to Iron Man to, I'm trying to think, Ant-Man. Ant-Man's more leading into Phase 3. So technically, after Avengers 2, as a whole, how do you feel like that is coming into play?
Well, first of all, I think they are doing super well nowadays, especially with Age of Ultron. That was such a good movie. They did everything right. James Spader's Ultron was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely think, I mean, it's hard to say, but he did better than Loki as a villain.
Because that's interesting, because I like both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, he's the villain, Loki plays the villain that you like.
Yeah,
Darth Vader. You love Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to try to bring in other movies, but I'm just using Darth Vader as an example, so you guys don't feel like, oh, this isn't Marvel's topic. This is... I know he's obsessed with Star Wars. Why is he bringing this in? I'm using villains. And I'm a huge Die Hard fan, but the villain from the first one, you just love. There's villains that you love and you want to see more of. And I feel like Loki you love him, and then he's not in the rest after Thor 2. Now, I've heard he's in Thor 3. From what I heard, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it.
We'll have to find out for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the Hulk's in Thor 3.
That's what I was told, yeah. You know what? Before we get back to that question, I was wondering, are we ever going to see an individual Incredible Hulk movie again?
From what I understand, I've done the research on it. No.
No?
This is one idea that I have, and it would be cool if they did this, is if the Hulk, now that the Hulk is in Thor 3, what if they go to the Hulk planet?
That is a really interesting theory. I mean, a lot of us fans definitely would like to see a Planet Hulk film.
Yeah.
That I mean, there of course there was the Planet Hulk animated film. I liked it, kind of the way it went.
Mhm.
I kind of want to see kind of the same story on the big screen. It's a little different, and
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we can all trust Joss Whedon and Kevin Feige to
Kevin
do
Feige.
Feige, whatever.
Feige?
Yeah, whatever. it
Actually,
is.
Josh Whedon is not doing it anymore.
Huh?
He's not doing it anymore.
Oh, really?
He's done.
Oh, wait, isn't he going to the DC universe?
I don't know what he's doing now. He is. Josh Whedon has done such an amazing job with just the Avengers, and after you can tell by after Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, like he was emotionally and just done. Like
that was a lot of work.
It was crazy. Like I enjoyed Avengers Age of Ultron, but I can enjoy the first Avengers more because they had Loki and it built up to it. Like Age of Ultron was cool. I loved it, but for some reason and it's not saying anything bad about Age of Ultron. It's just I just like it a little bit more.
I mean, generally speaking, most of the time the first film is always better than the second.
Yeah.
But I think we can both agree that Captain America 2 was better than the first.
Oh, by far it was.
That is like one of the very few sequel movies that has ever been better than the first movie.
I can debate on that one, but I'm not going.
Well, like I said, it was one of the very few.
Yeah, it's very few.
Yeah.
And I think with Civil War, it's going to be awesome with actually having Spider-Man in it. And from what I've heard, Marvel is doing really cool things with the Spider-Man. Like, they're nailing it pretty well.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays in, and it'll be interesting to see how Black Panther finally comes in.
It's a good thing they mentioned him in Age of Ultron.
Like,
well, not him, but
they hinted at it. Like, so I'm really excited about that. And here's another question: where will they go after Age of Ultron?
That's a hard one. I mean, because you got a whole bunch of new characters coming into the Marvel universe, having their own films. Like you got Doctor Strange, you got Captain Marvel, Black Panther. Who else? I mean, you got the new Avengers from the end of Age of Ultron. So it's going to be interesting to see how they all tie in together. And, you know, it's kind of hard to see how that's going to work out because it's hard to put a whole bunch of celebrities all in one film. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to work out because, I mean, we can all trust Marvel at this point to do really well with their films because we all know that they're doing really good already. So I think that putting all the new characters into the Marvel universe is going to be a good thing. I mean, because we all know that Thanos is eventually going to be beaten. There's 3 parts to the Infinity War.
2.
Or 2? I thought it was 3. Okay.
That's what I've been hearing, but it's 2.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's just going to be interesting to see how they're going to put all the characters all together in Infinity War to defeat Thanos because, I mean, putting a whole bunch of celebrities on one screen kind of doesn't give them enough.
Yeah. It kind of ruins it.
Yeah, it kind of ruins it. I mean, I think just the Avengers themselves, like having all those guys on one movie is almost really hard to do, but they pulled it off very well. It's going to be interesting to see how they put all the newer characters on the big screen and see if they can pull that off.
It will be. I think because when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like literally blown away because I never heard of Guardians.
Before I heard about it, before I heard about it, I had no idea what it was. And
I watch it, and I'm like, and here I am doing another Star Wars reference. It felt like Star Wars. It felt like the whole Space Odyssey, and like Chris Pratt nailing Star Wars. Like
gosh.
Like that movie, I was like, why can't they do any more of this? And then they come out and make Ant-Man, which
oh my gosh.
I liked Ant-Man comic books.
Yeah.
And I liked how they went with the route that they did. Yeah. Because it made more sense. But like I ultimately like Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy is like my top two favorite. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I could watch them multiple times because
Yeah.
I enjoy them. I can get a kick out of them. Now, I think Civil War will introduce, of course, Black Panther, and it'll introduce more of the next of
Yeah,
team of
I think
Avengers.
isn't Doctor Strange supposed to be in that, like
I
doing
have
like a
no idea.
cameo? I heard rumors of him doing a cameo in that film, along with Spider-Man and Black Panther.
If it's gonna be a cameo, it might be a very, very subtle one.
Yeah,
It could be that, and which is fine. I'm totally fine with that. I'm excited about the Doctor Strange and what they're gonna do with that. It'll be interesting because I think like Marvel started off with such a big powerhouse that now it's kind of like I have no idea what they're gonna do next.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that they do, I have total faith in them.
Exactly. I mean, it's Marvel. They can't do anything wrong at this point. The only thing they've done wrong was that X-Men Origins movie, as far as I've seen.
Well, that's like two different branches.
Yeah, that's true, but it's still Marvel.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. What do you think of Netflix's teaming up with Marvel Studios doing Netflix?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we can all agree that freaking Daredevil was a great season. Freaking episode 4. I hope you guys have seen that. But the end of episode 4 of Daredevil was probably the most realistic, brutal thing I've ever seen.
Was that the? It's been a while since I seen
It's when Fisk like
decapitates
the guy.
Like that. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The one thing about me, I love fighting movies. Like, for example, I can watch The Rage for days, and if you haven't seen that movie, hecker go see it.
I have not seen The Rage.
I will let you borrow it.
Okay.
But I love fighting movies and action movies, and this scene, like, for some reason, I'm not all for decapitation. Decapitation. But this whole scene, the door, and it showed an example of how strong he is.
And it's totally unheard of. Like, you've never heard of somebody getting decapitated by a freaking car door. Like,
you didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you knew it was possible, you just weren't willing to see or try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Daredevil, like, okay, I'll admit I liked the movie Daredevil with Ben Affleck. If you do, and don't get mad at me, guys. If you take out the park scene, the fight with Electra, if you take out that, now I would go and re-edit that whole thing, but I don't want to be sued and fined by Marvel and Disney or whoever owns it.
Yeah.
And if you take out that scene, it's actually a decently good movie. You can watch it, and like Ben Affleck, like, and I'll use other movies for this example. Like, you'll get some movies that are very much terrible, but you'll have actors who are good. Like Ben Affleck was decently good as Daredevil, not as good as the TV show Daredevil, but at least he did good.
Yeah.
You'll get, like, for instance, Green Lantern, god-awful movie, but Ryan Reynolds does really good.
Great actor, horrible directing, and I think that's the same thing with the Daredevil movie. If they did a lot better at directing, I think it would have pulled off.
Oh yeah,
and heck, there was cheesy acting. Oh, are you kidding me? Bullseye, and the guy who played Fisk. I mean, rest in peace. But
who played? Yeah, the Kingpin guy.
Yeah, the Kingpin
guy. For a second, I was like, the guy from the TV show died already. What? No, I just saw him in Jurassic World.
Yeah,
but yeah,
just really cheesy acting. They could have done a whole lot better. Like he said, Ben Affleck did good.
Visual effects were amazing back in those days. No, they weren't. It was that movie's old.
For that age, the graphics were pretty well done. But they definitely could have done with the acting overall.
It's aged pretty badly. Let me just say that.
I guess you can say that,
yeah. And I feel like having Netflix do the TV shows, and I keep forgetting it. The next show they're doing that comes out next month. I forget.
Is it Jessica Jones?
Yeah, for some
one?
reason I want to think of some other random name, but it'll be interesting because it's very dark.
You know, I gotta be honest. I don't know like really anything about Jessica Jones. All I've heard and seen is that she's super strong.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
and I don't know much about her, but I know from what I've heard, it's like just a very, very dark story.
Yeah.
And like seeing Luke Cage in it, I'm like really pumped about. I cannot wait for Luke Cage
Yeah.
TV show. If you guys haven't already know this or figured this out, Netflix and Marvel have teamed up to do their, I think it's Inhumans
Yeah.
series.
Well, probably because they already have like Inhumans in Agents of Shield. Starting with season 2 is when you start seeing Inhumans. You've seen the show, right?
I saw the first episode and didn't like it.
Keep watching it; it gets better.
I'd rather watch Blacklist.
That's
But, like,
that's up to you. But you do see a lot of Inhumans. You like the Agents of Shield actually go to where they live, somewhere on the eastern side of the world. But it's really cool. You actually get to see Black Bolt in in one of the episodes,
Okay, I
and
have to watch it.
yeah. It's really good. You may think it doesn't look that good, but if you keep on watching it, you'll get more into it.
It'll be hard for me to go back to watching, or not go back, just watching Agent of Shield after I've seen Daredevil.
Well, I mean, if you really like the Marvel films, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. definitely ties in with it from the end of the Avengers through so far just after Age of Ultron.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
But I feel like where Netflix is going with this, like they can do things that most TV stations can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Like when a TV show comes for ABC, Fox, or CBS, they have certain rules that they can't do. Like, for example, you can't decapitate someone's head from a car door. But it's just that you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's rules. Netflix has this little thing called the internet, and they pretty much can get away with it because the internet doesn't have the same rules as
the movies themselves,
as like ABC, CBS, because people are watching it.
And like all of ages, like even kids, like 10 and under, watch those films, and they don't want to like portray blood and guts in a really bad fashion.
You don't. That's the thing. You don't have to portray that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. There's ways of doing it. When you're filming, you can actually do it differently. Like you can do trick photography, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But like Netflix, HBO, Showtimes, and all of that stuff, they have these ways of bending the rules a little bit, and so they're allowed to do things that you normally won't see in the Marvel movies or the TV shows, which isn't bad and it is good. But it also depends on the show that you're doing. Now, since Netflix has decided to pick more darker ones like Daredevil, like if ABC did that, would you have enjoyed it just as much as you do that Netflix did it? Or any other TV station?
It's kind of hard to think. I mean, I started watching a little bit of Agent Carter, and it's somewhat dark, but it's also like kind of what ABC is doing, kind of keeping it like good, but not dark.
Right, which isn't bad at all.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have enjoyed Daredevil as much if ABC did it. Now, CBS can't do it because Disney owns ABC, but I don't think I would have enjoyed if Netflix didn't do it because I've seen what Netflix can do with House of Cards and like other shows that they do. It's very much mature, and they made Daredevil a very mature thing. Now, I can't wait until they have Punisher.
That is going to be exciting. I think in my thoughts on this, like, it's just weird to see the guy who plays Shane from The Walking Dead, because like you're watching The Walking Dead and you're getting pissed off at his character because like of what he's doing in the show, and then you see him becoming the Punisher in season 2, and you're like, well, I guess you could say that his character as Shane in The Walking Dead kind of ties in with the Punisher, because like that attitude and that personality is just tying in pretty well.
Here, I don't know if you knew this about rumors, but there was talk that Tom Hardy was going to play the Punisher.
Not on the Netflix series.
No, it was going to be.
Oh, really?
Because they weren't going to do a movie. They were just going to have him in the Netflix show, Punisher. And like, I've heard that they wanted Tom Hardy to be in it.
I thought that was always about like him being on the big screen in the.
That I did hear that before, and I've also heard that they want that I think Hugh Jackman said this, that he wants Tom Hardy to play Wolverine.
I mean, just
do it. Just do it.
I think it's a good idea. It's just going to be really hard getting used to, because we all know that we are all used to Hugh Jackman, and it's hard to see anybody else. Like, for instance, like, you know how Robert Downey Jr. is almost done being Iron Man.
Yeah.
There was talks like a year ago about possibly Colin Farrell taking his spot. It's kind of hard to see that happening, because we all know that Colin Farrell is much younger than RDJ.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing like a younger version of Iron Man after seeing all these films now, it's just going to be like, how's that going to work, you know?
Go watch In Burgess, or that movie.
Okay.
In Burgess. It's a weird foreign name that I can't think of.
Mm-hmm.
But watch that movie. You'll see why he would be actually good at that.
Now, how do you feel about that? How do you think?
I'm on board because he's quick-witty. He's very quick with his things, and he's humorous. It's a different type of humor, but I think he could actually play it not as well, but I think he can do pretty well with it. And I'm willing to give other actors a shot. Like, here's the one thing with how fans and people react with movies when people say who's doing good, like Hugh Jackman, Robert Downey Jr., who's like, I'm going to be done after this. People get like
somewhat upset,
and it's like, what did they ever do to you? Like, they don't owe you anything. Like, it's their job. Like, it's like me going working at anywhere, and I'm like, all right, I just dominated that workplace, and I'm gonna get my 2 weeks notice. Like, I'm moving on. Like, you can't play characters forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that so many people, so many fans are so used to them being that character, they can't see anybody else. Like, come on. For the Avengers, you can't see anybody else play Captain America, can you? Freaking Mark Ruffalo did phenomenal as the Hulk. I can't see anybody else playing Thor. Black Widow, I think they could have worked around that. But Iron Man, like, it's hard to see anybody else play Iron Man.
Sam Rockwell.
Who's that?
He was the guy he was in movie Moon, and he was in Iron Man 2, where he plays the guy who builds the robot Iron Man.
Oh!
He was actually, from what I understand, he was actually going up for Iron Man.
You know what? I've also heard that this was probably really stupid of anybody to even think. Tom Cruise was also a runner-up for Iron Man, and Nicolas Cage.
I could take Tom Cruise over Nicolas Cage.
Oh, well, yeah, anybody could take Tom Cruise over Nicolas Cage. Ghost Rider. Oh my god.
I like the first.
The first one was good, but the second one was a waste of my life. Like, watching that movie. 2 hours gone from my life.
I've never seen that one. Is it really feel?
So bad. So bad. The acting was so bad on Nicolas Cage's part.
All right, here's a good question/topic. with how Star Wars has, and this is all going to be Marvel tied in,
Mhm.
with how Star Wars has done promoting their movie, which you really don't have to promote much just because of the name Star Wars.
Yeah, because it's like an iconic
Yeah.
TV or movie series. So
Do you think Marvel, or Disney, I should say, is going to promote their movies the same way that Star Wars was promoted? Or do you think they're still going to do it the same way that they've always done it and succeeded at?
well, given the fact that we haven't seen a Star Wars film since 2004. Oh, Star Wars for 2006?
Yeah.
I thought episode 3 was 2004. Okay. Well, anyway,
Or 2005.
given the fact that we haven't seen a movie since then, it's hard to say because, like, with Marvel doing so well in their films, like, yeah, there's a bit of a hype because they're always doing good, but with Star Wars being a really well done movie series, and with so many people like older than us growing up with Star Wars, there's so much more hype about it because, like, you probably never thought back 10 years ago that there would be another trilogy
Yeah.
in Star Wars. And the fact that they're using the 3 original characters, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Leia, like, holy crap. You gotta get hyped for that because,
Mhm.
you know, like, for one, graphics are so much better nowadays. J.J. Abrams is a phenomenal director, and he's directing the first of the trilogy. And I mean, there's so many other things I can name that shows that Star Wars has the right way of promoting their films. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, compare both films.
Right. No.
I mean, like I said before, Marvel, I mean, they're always doing so good. There's a bit of a hype because of our generation loving it so much. But
Mhm.
then you got so many people who grew up with Star Wars that absolutely loved it. And, like, come on, you got people having Star Wars weddings, for God's sake.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of diehard people out there for Star Wars. So, I mean, Star Wars didn't even have to try,
That, yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. I think how Marvel won't go that same route
Mhm.
as how Star Wars went because it's a different, like what you said, it's totally different.
Totally different franchise.
And I think Marvel has a game plan that's worked successfully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not many movies, like, they've set their budget very low, $125 million. I think it's their
For Star Wars?
limit. No, for
Oh.
all Marvel films.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't hear anything big unless it's like the Avengers. And it's the way they promote it is very, very, like, what's the term? Like, anticipation. Like,
Mhm,
how they do the whole, like, I feel like they've lacked on it a little bit because they're trying to take themselves serious. And, like, Marvel's not the type of movies to be taken as serious. The cinematic movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have a different way of promoting it. Now, if it was like Star Wars, yes, you're going to promote it very, very differently. You don't have to send out that many trailers. You don't have to put up that many pictures because just word of mouth. You're talking about all the way from 1977.
Yeah.
When the first one came out till now.
Mhm.
It's almost literally 40 years old.
That is a long time.
2017, it'll be 40 years old. So you're talking about almost 40 years of just a fan base bigger than anything else. So with Marvel, it's more geared towards kids, and it has a big fan base around it, but it's not as big as what Star Wars. Will Marvel ever get to that level? Possibly. I have no idea. After
It could get
2020,
dark in Infinity War.
I hope so. I hope Captain America gets killed. That's
Well, it's basically how it's supposed to go. Like, based on the comics, Bucky kind of takes over.
That's how I
So.
think Chris Evans is gonna quit being Captain America, because he said that he just wants to stop acting and for a while or do plays, which is fine.
Yeah.
And so he is. I think this is how he's gonna go out. He's gonna be very much like, just kill me. Like how Harrison Ford said, she's killing me. He has no mom and no papa. And Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Chris Evans is gonna be like, just kill me. Just bring Winter Soldier as the next
I
captain.
think he signed on to enough movies to get through, I believe, the first part of Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the part 2, though.
I think, as far as I know, he's only doing part 1 of the Infinity War, which is still gonna be balls to the walls, amazing. Like, so yeah, I'm perfectly fine with how Marvel Studio is going with it. I think now that they have Fantastic Four, they'll never do that movie.
Oh my god!
I didn't
watch that movie because I knew it was gonna be so horrible.
So I saw the trailer. Fantastic Four, granted, it's god awful, but I actually, from a person who doesn't really like them, I enjoyed the trailers just a slight little bit. I was like, this is cool, super cool. Like it's a little bit darker, but I heard like it was such a terrible, like, from what I heard, the original.
I liked the 2 first movies. I mean, okay, they could have done better with the acting, but I think they did pretty well. I don't know why they made Galactus a huge, gigantor, planet-sized cloud, but
I think Green Lantern caught with that idea too.
Oh yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I can see that. But gosh, did you see that on that Rotten Tomato website that Fantastic Four got a 9% rating?
I heard it was low. I haven't seen it.
It's so bad. Like, I think we all know that it was so bad. So many Marvel fans probably didn't even want to see it because of the way that the trailer. I mean, even though the trailer was good to you, people knew that storyline was not the right.
I knew as a movie it was going to be terrible, but the trailer, I was like, all right, it looks flashy and cool and stuff.
You know what? I think the only thing they did right was the way that the thing looked.
That did look cool.
It looked more rockier than the first one. I'll admit that was kind of one of the downfalls of the first 2 movies. But they made them look more realistic and bigger, like huge. So I think that's the only thing they did right with that film.
Yeah. So the next big old last topic would be Marvel films versus DC films. Now,
that is
next year is going to be pretty cool. You have Civil War, and you have Batman v Superman, which I hate putting V. We're not going to court. We're not. I'm sorry. We're not going a lawsuit or I'm suing you or court or anything. Like, to me, it's a Batman film.
Well, you know what? I think one of the recent new animated Justice League movies, I think it's Justice League War.
Yeah.
You seen that movie?
I've seen part of it.
Okay, so basically, I think they're kind of going that route because in that animated film, nobody's in the Justice League. The Justice League hasn't been formed yet. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, fighting people and figuring out this sudden like alien attack, and they all come together. They're all kind of fighting each other at first, which you kind of see in the trailer for BVS. So I think they're kind of going that route, but I'm also wondering if you guys have seen the BVS trailer. You kind of see in one of the scenes where Superman is walking towards the camera and you got a bunch of soldiers bowing down him. Like, is that going the Injustice League route or something like that? You know, the Injustice Gods Among Us game where Superman becomes like the leader of the world and tries to take out Batman and all that kind of stuff. That was really confusing to me because, like I said, you got the similarities to Justice League War and Injustice: Gods Among Us, the video game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little confused at like which route they're going.
This is what I can say about the whole Marvel and DC films. Think of it as a sports analogy. You have what's the worst NFL team right now?
Worst NFL team?
You have. I know, I'm going to throw a team out. You have, like, the New England Patriots. Let's just face it.
Don't piss anybody off.
Let's just face it. My Patriots, who, by the way, are, like, the most best team for almost 20 years. And you have, like, you have the Lions, Detroit Lions, okay? And we're going to put Marvel as the Patriots, not saying it just because Marvel has dominated since 2008. Has just dominated everything comic book movie wise. Mm-hmm. Just the film stuff. Comic books, DC's better. But movie wise, Marvel has slightly come up better. That's why I'm putting them with Patriots, because Patriots for the last almost 2 decades has been a slightly little bit better. You have Detroit Lions, who haven't been that good for a really long time. Yeah. And DC films just aren't, like, I don't know.
So far, they're not doing good.
Yeah, so far, they're not doing that good. So, at some point, Marvel's going to have to face an opponent, like David and Goliath, or like the Super Bowl, or whatever. Any big matchup where the dominant person is going to be like, yes, I'm going to win. Do I think Marvel film is going to meet its match? Yes. And I think DC film, as much as I love to bash everything DC films, I do think DC has a chance of actually taking on Marvel and just not destroying it, but just leveling out the play.
Leveling it out, yeah.
Because as much as I love to poke fun of DC films and the whole Nolan films, which to me, Nolan's Batman films is just The Godfather and Goodfellas coming together and making a movie.
Okay, I think the only thing I didn't like about that trilogy was the third one, honestly. They did not pick a good actress for Catwoman.
Nope.
Anne Hathaway, you see her in all these princess movies in her previous acting career. And then you see her as a seductive cat lady. Like, come on. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, she did not even do that good as Catwoman, acting-wise. And then you got Bane. Great Bane. Don't get me wrong, he did great. But for a lot of people who grew up with Batman in the 80s and 90s, he's got this big black mask, and he's super muscular, super tall, and he's got all these like crazy cords going from his head into his arms with venom and all that kind of stuff. I think I would have liked to see that portrayal of Bane in the trilogy rather than Nolan's version.
I'll give Nolan, granted, like, he tried to make it more realistic. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I do like that DC Films is doing is coming up with their new way of introducing Justice League. So I think yes, Batman v Superman, stupidest title in the world. Just call it Batman versus Superman. Put the S there. But anyways, I do think that movie is going to be great. I'm glad they pushed it away from Civil War, because they were supposed to open on the same day as Civil War. You're crazy. Because Civil War just won.
Is Civil War in May?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think DC, they're really trying a different way of approaching how Marvel is doing all their movies. Yes, Marvel has like back-to-back hitters, some not so good ones, but just like an all-around good, solid approach of how they're doing their movies.
And a great storyline for each of them.
Yeah. Do I think Zack Snyder look, he's a great director. I don't think he should touch comic book movies because as cool as Man of Steel was, it was just like
they could have done things
20
better.
minutes,
Yeah.
awesome. The first 20 minutes were great, and then you
Great
have like
story.
2 hours of just like
A
middle
lot
school love
of
triangle.
destruction. I think,
which I'm fine with, but it was a little too much.
like, yeah, I feel like he did the Michael Bay kind of destruction stuff, like nothing but huge explosions and buildings falling. I liked that movie a lot. I mean, who better than Henry Cavill to play Superman?
He was
For one
good.
thing.
He was, I liked him as Superman. There's a lot. I think Ben Affleck, as much as I love Michael Keaton as Batman. By the way, Michael Keaton is the true Batman.
I agree.
Ben Affleck might, like, he is
Huge.
Like,
Huge.
if you've seen,
Gone Girl.
holy crap, the dude has skinny ass legs,
And
but a huge
torso.
Like, so Ben Affleck is really taking this role serious, and I like where they're going with the Joker, making him more
I'm sorry. I just don't.
making him more psychotic. I like I like Jared Leto, and I want to see what he does. I want to give DC films a chance.
I do too. I just don't like the way. I mean, especially for the Suicide Squad, I don't like the way most of them look. Crocodile or Killer Croc. Come on, seriously.
You know that movie is gonna do really well.
You never know. I mean, just I think. Okay, I'll say this. I think it might do well. I just don't like the way they portray all their characters. Harley Quinn, pink and blue hair.
Yeah,
That's stupid. Will Smith as Deadshot. That's hard because most of us can't even take Will Smith seriously,
yeah.
given all of his previous films. I just don't like the way most of them look based on the comics. Because I mean, if you ever played Batman Arkham Knight
Yeah.
and you see the Killer Croc in that game, I think that would have been a really awesome look for the big screen. But they made him like an average size big man and just kind of put scales on him and no sharp teeth or crazy stuff about him. No different like reptile kind of looks.
Yeah. And I think like how, because I think that's just introducing the Joker. And I think like with how I seriously do believe that DC is following Marvel's. They're looking at how Marvel's doing it. Marvel has the whole younger audience down. I think DC's looking at it as like, how can we approach it to the more mature audience?
I think they're kind of doing a little bit of the opposite thing that Marvel's doing because they're starting with basically like almost the beginning of the Justice League. But then you got Marvel, who has got all these different like individual movies that are tying into the big movie.
Right.
So they're kind of doing the big movie first, then branching off into their own individual films.
And I'm fine with that. I think what DC's doing, I'm gonna give them a shot and be like, okay, I'll go see your movie, and it'll be interesting. And if DC does figure this out, here's the other thing: it has to do well.
It has to do well.
If
BVS
it doesn't,
well.
Marvel just pretty much says that we pretty much blew you guys out of the water.
Yeah.
And that's not saying a bad thing. It's just saying that like DC's coming up with a different route of approaching the movie industry. Will they do well? Will they succeed? Who knows?
Well, let's say this. Recently, I read an article where the executive producers at Warner Brothers had watched BVS, and they legitimately gave Ben Affleck a standing ovation based on how well he did in the film, and they are already giving him 3 individual films.
Here,
So
I've heard that, but there's one. Okay, so every movie industry or studio, I should say, will play their movie to the executives or the CEOs, whoever in charge. And most of the time, the studio will be like standing ovation, applaud it, and like all that stuff. So when I read it, I was like, that's kind of cool, but I can't really take it that serious because it's going towards it's the studio showing their studio or showing them the movie, and they're loving it. Like, yes, you're gonna love your product, like this this web series. Yes, I love it. To some people, they may not like it, but to me, it's a standing ovation.
Everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, yes, the trailer was awesome, but it's like with that whole studio thing, it's like if I made a movie for, let's say, Miramax, if they're still in business, or New Line, or whoever, like if I make a movie for Peter Jackson, and I show them that movie, and they give me a standing ovation, that's their opinion on it. So it's more of a just wait until it comes out, or wait until more comes out. Do I think Wonder Woman is a good choice? Yeah. Do I think the guy Aquaman is a good choice? Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see how did they do a good choice for Batman? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, come on, we all know that the Batman suit is amazing.
It is. It's cool. So I think right now still Marvel has the upper ground up until next year. We'll see how that plays out. But I think as a whole, Marvel just has this way of approaching movies that are just really good.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the other thing. DC is not a gambling film.
Yeah.
They don't gamble a lot on movies. They tried it with Green Lantern and failed it.
Oh, my God.
Marvel is like, we're going to pick a comic book movie that no one has ever heard of.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
And it dominated. It was successful. And I think that's where Marvel also has the hand. It's like, yeah, we're going to risk it. We pretty much can risk anything.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
It's going to be interesting to see how they risk making a younger Spider-Man. That's going to be interesting. Because, I mean, first of all, let's all agree that the first Spider-Man trilogy was bad.
What? The one with Tobey Maguire?
Yeah.
It wasn't?
Okay. After seeing The Amazing Spider-Man, I felt like Tobey Maguire wasn't really good. Come on, he was a whiny, nerdy kid. Yeah, Spider-Man is a nerdy kid, but he's also got like this smart aleck kind of attitude, which Tobey Maguire never had in those films, if you can remember. He was just the whiny, kind of kid who had a hard time getting Mary Jane's attention.
Yeah.
But, I mean, first of all, they didn't follow the comics very well because Gwen Stacy was the first girlfriend. And they totally flip-flopped that in that trilogy. But I feel like Andrew Garfield was a better portrayal of Spider-Man because he had the smart attitude. He was a little punky, but that's okay. He was just the perfect actor for that film. They didn't do so well in the second one. I wish they did better because I wish they kept Andrew Garfield. But we gotta trust Marvel to do their thing,
Yeah, I can agree with you on one thing. The smart aleck thing. Yes. Andrew Garfield had it better. I liked the first Amazing Spider-Man. I thought it was cool and stuff. He did really good. But the thing about the original is it played to the original comic book. Yeah, it would have been cool to have Gwen Stacy there, but I don't think that really mattered. I think it more mattered with Mary Jane because that was the key relationship he had.
Yeah, but don't you think he looked a little too old to be in high school?
Not really.
I mean, I'm pretty sure
Have you
he's
seen
like...
the high schoolers now? I'm out of high school. I'm out of college. I look like a high schooler with facial hair and balding. Like, I could play a high schooler, but I'm closer to
So
my
could I.
30s.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like it, but he played it. See, Spider-Man, he played it when he graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it played more into college,
Mm-hmm.
which made sense with how he looked. And the other thing with the original Spider-Man, the villains looked way cooler. The guy who played the
Goblin?
Goblin,
That was okay. I'll admit,
Sue could have been better.
Sue could have
But
definitely
the
been better.
villain, if you look at it, the Amazing Spider-Man villains never played up to par. It looked the suits and everything in Amazing Spider-Man way better.
Yeah.
But if you look at how the original Spider-Man, it only took them 3 movies to finally reboot it. It's taken them it took them literally half of the second movie to realize this isn't going to work.
Okay, yeah, come on. Making the son the Goblin was just stupid. I mean, we all know that Norman Osborn was the first Goblin, and his son didn't become Goblin until later on in the comics. But come on, portraying the Goblin himself like they did in the second movie was stupid.
Yeah.
Didn't give him hardly any time in the film. They should have given him the suit and the glider and done all that kind of stuff like they did in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But obviously they didn't. And yeah.
Third one was atrocious.
Yes.
But as 1 and 2 Spider-Man, as a whole,
okay, I'll admit
the second Spider-Man is still my favorite comic book movie. I still will say that is the best comic book movie ever made.
Doc Ock.
Like, it was because he never really got whiny until the third one.
True.
But yes, Tobey Maguire, he had his moments. I think both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, them playing those 2 different types of Spider-Man, they both have their ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's not supposed to look like a pretty boy from Twilight. And Garfield looks like a pretty boy from Twilight. When I first saw this Amazing Spider-Man trailer, I was like, so someone likes Twilight. And he doesn't. That was the thing. I couldn't get past the whole wavy hair thing. But how he approached it and being sarcastic and quick-witty, I actually enjoyed it.
That's exactly how Spider-Man is supposed to be.
Yeah, so I totally get that. But the rest is just like, I don't know. So it'd be interesting to see how Marvel as a whole kind of goes with Spider-Man. But we can say after all this whole entire talk on the movie, on Marvel Cinematic, we can all agree that Marvel is doing well. Like,
doing very well. And it's going to, I mean, not really going off topic, but I think we all know that Star Wars is going to like blow Marvel out of the water.
Yeah, there's
no doubt about it.
So that is the end of our show, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is the very first live test broadcast of the Movie Lounge, and we will be back to doing the regular show. And I think what we're gonna do is kind of do this once in a while on only on specific big topics, and we'll probably end up doing a DC talk, and of course doing a Star Wars, and that's what the next episode will be, is pretty much on Star Wars, on theories and ideas. So you hear my ideas on that. You hear my really good friend who's going to be the guest on it. So as always, if you guys have any questions you would like to have answered on the show, you can email us at themovielounge15@gmail.com. Again, that's themovielounge15@gmail.com. And I will put a link to the website and the link to our Twitter account where you guys can even bring questions up there. And yeah, you guys have a great day. And yeah, thanks for having us on the show. And again, I keep forgetting to do this, but people from Australia who are viewing this, awesome. I'm glad you guys are viewing this show and watching it. You guys are awesome. You guys have a great day. Bye.